In 1948, a man built a car so revolutionary that it terrified Detroit's big three automakers. It had a rear-mounted engine, a padded dashboard, a pop-out safety windshield, and could go 120 miles per hour, when most cars struggled to hit 80. The car was called the Tucker 48, and only 51 of them were ever made. But here's the insane part. The man behind it, Preston Tucker, was dragged into court, accused of fraud, and faced decades in prison. The government wanted to destroy him. Detroit wanted him gone, and by the time he was acquitted, proven innocent of every single charge, his dream was already dead. So what really happened? Did the big three actually conspire to kill the Tucker? Was this a corrupt takedown by corporate America? Or did Preston Tucker's own ambition destroy him? Today, we're diving into one of the most controversial stories in automotive history, a tale of innovation, conspiracy, courtroom drama, and 51 cars that should never have existed. Before we talk about the conspiracy, you need to understand the man at the center of it, because Preston Tucker wasn't your typical Detroit executive. Born in 1903 in Michigan, Tucker grew up obsessed with cars. He worked his way through the industry as a car salesman, a policeman, and even an office boy at Cadillac. But his big break came during World War II, when he designed gun turrets for military aircraft and made millions from those contracts. When the war ended in 1945, America was desperate for cars. Wartime production bans meant factories had built tanks and planes instead of automobiles for years. Tucker saw his golden opportunity, not just to build another car, but to revolutionize the entire industry. And Tucker didn't want to just build another car, he wanted to build the car of tomorrow, today. Let me tell you what made the Tucker 48 absolutely insane for 1948. This wasn't just a vehicle, it was a safety revolution on wheels. Tucker installed a padded dashboard when every other car had metal dashboards that literally killed people in crashes. He added a pop-out safety glass windshield that would eject during a collision, instead of shattering into the driver's face. The car featured a center Cyclops eye headlight that turned with the steering wheel to illuminate curves at night. There was a roll bar integrated into the roof, and a rear-mounted aluminum engine that not only improved weight distribution, but also protected passengers in front-end collisions. The performance specs were equally mind-blowing. The Tucker 48 had a 166 horsepower flat-six engine that could push the car to a top speed of 120 miles per hour, when most family cars of the era maxed out at 70 or 80 miles per hour. It could hit 60 miles per hour in just 10 seconds, which was exceptional for the time. And it featured innovative disc brakes that would become standard decades later. Tucker unveiled a prototype to the press in June 1947, and the response was massive. Over 300,000 people sent in deposits. Newspapers called it the car of the future. America wanted this car desperately, but Detroit had other plans. Here's where things get dark. Because the big three, Ford, General Motors, and Chrysler, had an iron grip on the American auto industry. And Tucker was about to disrupt everything they'd built. According to Tucker's later testimony, the conspiracy started almost immediately. He claimed the big three blocked his access to steel suppliers, and in post-war America, steel was still being rationed and controlled. When Tucker tried to order materials, he alleged that suppliers mysteriously had nothing available, yet the big three's factories kept running at full capacity. Tucker accused major manufacturers of being pressured not to work with his company. He claimed the big three used their political connections in Washington to strangle his operation before it could threaten their market dominance. The plant controversy made everything worse. Tucker needed a massive manufacturing facility, and he set his sights on a former Dodge aircraft plant in Chicago, an enormous government-owned facility perfect for car production. But getting permission to lease it became a bureaucratic nightmare. Competitors lobbied against him, and Tucker faced constant obstacles and impossible terms. He eventually secured the plant, but the delays had cost him precious time and momentum. Production that should have started in late 1947 was pushed into 1948, then 1949. But the sabotage went deeper than just steel and factories, because in 1949, the Securities and Exchange Commission, the SEC, launched a full investigation into Tucker's company. Tucker had raised $17 million by selling stock and dealer franchises across the country. The SEC claimed Tucker had defrauded investors with false promises, alleging that he never actually intended to build cars. He just wanted to take people's money and run. The charges were devastating: mail fraud and conspiracy to defraud investors. 31 counts were filed against Tucker and 7 of his associates. If convicted, Tucker faced decades in federal prison. His name would be synonymous with fraud, and his car would be remembered as the biggest scam in automotive history. And here's the truly insane part: while Tucker was fighting these charges in court, he was still trying to build cars. Because he knew if he could just get the Tucker 48 into full production, he could prove everyone wrong. He could show the world that his vision was real, functional, and revolutionary. So even as lawyers prepared for trial, Tucker's team worked around the clock in that Chicago plant, hand-building cars one by one, racing against time and bankruptcy. The trial began in October 1949, and it became one of the most sensational fraud cases in American history. The prosecution's case was brutal. They claimed Tucker's prototypes were fake, that the cars didn't actually work. They argued he'd spent investor money on mansions and luxury items for himself, rather than building an automobile company. They painted him as a smooth-talking con artist who never believed in the car. He just believed in the money he could extract from desperate, car-hungry Americans. But the defense launched an absolutely brilliant counterattack. Tucker's lawyers did something unprecedented. They brought actual Tucker 48 cars to the courthouse. They rolled them up to the building, started the engines in front of the jury, and demonstrated that these were real, functional, genuinely advanced vehicles. They showed detailed financial records proving Tucker had used investor money for legitimate business purposes: factory equipment, engineering, materials, and labor. Yes, Tucker had lived well, but he hadn't stolen. He'd built exactly what he promised, even if he hadn't built enough of them. After weeks of testimony, the jury deliberated. Tucker's entire life, his reputation, his freedom, it all came down to this moment. In January 1950, the verdict came back. Tucker was acquitted on all charges. Every single count. The jury found no fraud, no conspiracy, no criminal wrongdoing. Preston Tucker walked out of that courtroom a free man, legally vindicated. But Tucker won the trial and lost everything else. So why were only 51 Tucker 48s ever built? The answer is as simple as it is devastating. During the investigation and trial, production had completely halted. Investors panicked and fled. Dealers who'd paid for franchises demanded their deposits back. Suppliers refused to work with a company under federal investigation. Even if the charges might be baseless, the risk was too high. Banks wouldn't provide financing to an accused fraud. The 51 cars that exist today were built between 1948 and 1949 during absolute chaos. Each one was essentially hand-built. Some were rushed specifically to prove the cars were real for the trial. The production line never reached any meaningful scale. Tucker's company filed for bankruptcy in March 1950, just weeks after his acquittal. He tried desperately to launch new projects, other cars, boats, various ventures, but he never recovered. The stigma remained. People remembered the charges, not the acquittal. Preston Tucker died of lung cancer in 1956, at age 53, never seeing his full vindication. But here's the thing about those 51 cars. They became automotive legends. Original Tucker 48s now sell for $2 to $3 million at auction. Museums fight to acquire them. They're considered among the most important American cars ever made. And Tucker's safety innovations. Padded dashboards became standard within a decade. Safety glass became mandatory. His ideas influenced car design for generations. So here's the million-dollar question. Did the Big Three actually conspire to destroy Tucker? Or did he just fail as a businessman? The evidence for conspiracy is compelling. Tucker faced documented material access problems. The timing of the SEC investigation was suspiciously convenient for his competitors. The Big Three had motive, means, and powerful connections in Washington. Multiple Tucker associates reported what they believed was deliberate sabotage. But there's no smoking gun. No document proving the Big Three coordinated his destruction. And Tucker was inexperienced as a mass manufacturer. His company did have legitimate financial problems, and some of his marketing materials overpromised what he could deliver immediately. The truth? It's probably both. Tucker was likely targeted and made critical mistakes. The Big Three didn't need a grand conspiracy, they just needed to make things difficult enough that Tucker couldn't overcome his own inexperience and limited resources. They had to slow him down just enough for the money to run out, and it worked. Preston Tucker built 51 cars that should never have existed. He beat fraud charges that should never have been filed, and he died never seeing his ideas become the industry standard, but they did. Every time you see a padded dashboard, a safety feature, an innovative design choice that prioritizes human life over pure profit, you're seeing Tucker's legacy. The Big Three wanted him gone. The government tried to destroy him, and in the end they succeeded in killing his company. But they couldn't kill his ideas. Those 51 Tucker 48s. They're rolling proof that sometimes the rebel gets crushed, but the revolution lives on. And that's the insane, tragic, and ultimately inspiring story of Preston Tucker, and the car that changed everything.